Welcome to Ancient Lives. We journey into the past to uncover these forgotten sagas. If you believe that history is made by ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, then show your strength by liking this video, subscribe to our clan, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The Roman Empire, a shining beacon of law, architecture, and civilization. We marvel at the Colosseum, a monument to spectacle. We walk on roads so perfectly engineered they have survived for millennia. We admire the aqueducts, artificial rivers of stone that quenched the thirst of 1,000,000 souls. But beneath the gleaming marble of this grand empire lay a dark and brutal foundation, built on the backs of millions of forgotten souls. These were the slaves, the invisible people, the instrumentum vocale, the speaking tools, as the Roman scholar Varro once called them. They were the engine of Rome, yet their individual stories were almost entirely erased by the relentless march of history. What was the reality of their existence? Now, let us step into the shadows of the Eternal City. This is a day in the life of Lyvius, a slave in a wealthy Roman household in the year 79 AD. For Lyvius, the day does not begin with the gentle light of a Roman dawn. It begins in absolute, suffocating blackness. There are no windows in his world. His world is a cubiculum, a tiny, windowless cell in the damp subterranean levels of his master's sprawling villa. He awakens not to the sun, but to the sharp, angry shout of the overseer, the vilicus, and the harsh scrape of a wooden staff against the stone floor. It is a sound that promises only pain. He rises from a thin, straw-filled pallet laid directly on the cold, damp earth. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, stale sweat, and human despair. He shares this cramped space with a dozen other men, their sleeping forms packed together. There is no privacy here. There is no dignity. There is only the shared, silent misery of their existence. He pulls on his only garment, a coarse, dirt-stained tunic made of the cheapest undyed wool. It is rough against his skin, a constant, irritating reminder of his status. There are no personal belongings, no mementos of his past life. Everything he once was, a free man of Gaul, a farmer with a family and a name, was stripped from him the day the legions burned his village. Now he is simply Lyvius, a name given to him by his master, as one would name a dog. Breakfast is not a meal. It is a necessity, consumed in hurried silence before the day's labor begins. A wooden bowl is shoved into his hands, filled with a gray, tasteless porridge of cheap grain. To this is added a piece of hard, dark bread and a cup of water. This is the fuel for the master's speaking tool. It is enough to keep him working, but never enough to make him feel strong. As he eats, he does not look at the other slaves. To meet another's eyes is to see his own hopelessness reflected back, a burden too heavy to bear before the sun has even risen. The sun rises over the 7 hills of Rome, but Lyvius does not see it. His day's labor begins in the cavernous cisterns beneath the villa, a world of echoing drips and perpetual twilight. His first task, and one that will be repeated throughout the day, is to haul water. Not with buckets, but with heavy, terracotta amphorae that weigh nearly as much as he does when full. He hoists one onto his shoulder, the rough ceramic digging into the thin fabric of his tunic, and begins the long, grueling climb up the stone steps to the sun-drenched gardens above. This is the relentless rhythm of his life, a cycle of lifting, carrying, and enduring. His muscles burn, his back aches, but he cannot slow down. The overseer, a burly, cruel man named Marcus, watches his every move. Marcus is a former legionary who lost an eye in Germania, and he channels all his bitterness and rage into the slaves under his command. He carries a short, leather-tipped whip, and he is not afraid to use it to encourage a faster pace. The threat of the lash is a constant companion, a shadow that follows Lyvius with every step. In the main villa, he is a ghost. His job is to be invisible, to perform his duties without being seen or heard by the master, Lucius Cornelius, and his family. He moves through the opulent halls, his bare feet silent on the intricate mosaic floors. He cleans, he polishes, he carries messages, always keeping his eyes downcast. To make eye contact with the master or his guests would be an act of insolence, an invitation for punishment. He sees the incredible wealth of the household. Walls painted with vibrant frescoes of mythological scenes, marble statues imported from Greece, tables laden with exotic foods he can only dream of tasting. He is surrounded by a level of luxury that is almost beyond comprehension, yet he is not a part of it. He is merely a piece of the machinery that makes this luxury possible, as functional and unregarded as a broom or a bucket. The greatest danger in a slave's day is not exhaustion, but a single mistake. As Lyvius carries a tray of priceless, imported Greek pottery through the atrium, his foot slips on a wet patch of floor. For a heart-stopping second, the tray tilts and the delicate vases slide, their clattering sound echoing like thunder in the quiet hall. He manages to catch them, his heart hammering in his chest. But the noise has drawn the attention of the master. Lucius Cornelius turns, his pleasant expression instantly vanishing, replaced by a cold, reptilian fury. He does not shout. He does not need to. He simply looks at Lyvius, a look that promises immense pain. In this world, a broken vase was worth more than a broken slave. Lyvius freezes, bracing for the inevitable punishment, a punishment he had seen delivered to others for far lesser mistakes, a punishment that could leave a man unable to walk for days. His back a canvas of blood and agony. The master takes a single, menacing step towards him. The air grows thick with unspoken violence. But just as the master raises his hand, a soft voice calls out, "Father, it is the master's young daughter, a girl of about 7 named Julia, who has just entered the atrium." The master's fury falters, his expression softening as he turns to his child. The moment is broken. With a final, contemptuous glare at Lyvius, he turns away to greet his daughter. The incident already forgotten by him, but forever burned into the slave's memory. Lyvius scrambles to his feet and disappears back into the shadows of the servants' corridors, his body trembling with the aftershock of his near-fatal mistake. He has survived, for now. This is the reality of his existence, a life lived on the edge of a knife, entirely dependent on the fleeting whims of his owners. After the terrifying incident in the atrium, Lyvius is sent to work in the peristyle garden, a lush, sun-drenched courtyard at the heart of the villa. For many slaves, this is a desirable posting, a brief escape from the dark, stifling confines of the main house. But for Lyvius, it is a painful reminder of the world he lost. He tends to the vibrant flowers and manicured hedges, his hands that once worked his own free soil, now tending the ornamental plants of his captor. The air here is warm and filled with the sweet scent of roses and jasmine. Bees buzz lazily from flower to flower. In the center of the garden, a small marble fountain trickles water, its gentle sound a stark contrast to the harsh sounds of the villa's daily operations. Surrounded by this beauty, this carefully crafted paradise, Lyvius feels his isolation more keenly than ever. He is a ghost in this garden, a shadow tending to a world that is not his. A world he can see and touch, but never truly be a part of. He works in silence, his movements slow and deliberate, his mind 1,000 miles away in the green forests of Gaul. Lost in his thoughts, he doesn't hear the small footsteps on the gravel path behind him. "You look sad." The voice is small, clear, and devoid of the arrogance he is used to hearing. It is Julia, the master's young daughter. Lyvius immediately drops to his knees, his eyes fixed on the ground, his body tensed for a reprimand. A slave is not meant to be addressed by a member of the family, and he is certainly not meant to look sad. The reprimand never comes. Instead, a small hand extends into his field of vision. In it is a single, ripe, purple fig. "Here," the girl whispers, her voice conspiratorial. "I saved it from breakfast. Don't let father see." For a moment, Lyvius is frozen. This small, simple act of kindness is so alien, so unexpected in his brutal world, that he doesn't know how to react. Slowly, hesitantly, he reaches out and takes the fruit. His rough, dirt-stained fingers brush against her small, clean ones. He doesn't dare to look up, but he mutters a single hoarse word in his native Gallic tongue, a word of thanks she wouldn't understand, a word he hadn't spoken in years. The girl giggles and runs off. Her small act of rebellion complete, Lyvius remains kneeling for a long time, the heavy, sweet fruit resting in the palm of his hand. It is more than just food. It is a symbol, a glimmer of humanity in a world of institutionalized cruelty. A reminder that even in the darkest of places, a single small light can still shine, however briefly. The sweetness of the fig is a fleeting memory, a cruel joke in a life defined by bitterness. As dusk settles over Rome, the slaves are herded back to their subterranean world. Night does not bring peace or rest. It brings a reckoning of the day's cruelties and a fresh wave of fear for the uncertainties of the morrow. The evening meal is a grim affair, the same gray porridge as the morning, perhaps with a few scraps of leftover vegetables from the master's table. They eat in near silence, the air thick with unspoken exhaustion. Tonight, the silence is punctuated by the soft, pained groans of a fellow slave. A young man from Britannia, caught stealing a piece of bread, had been subjected to the master's fury. Lyvius helps another, older slave, to gently apply a cool, wet cloth to the fresh welts on the young man's back. They don't have medicine, only water and a shared, silent empathy. They work in the flickering light of a single oil lamp, their faces a matte. Later, lying on his straw pallet in the suffocating darkness, sleep refuses to come. He closes his eyes, but he does not see the darkness of the cell. He sees a different world. He sees the green, misty forests of his homeland in Gaul. He sees the face of his wife, laughing as she weaves flowers into their daughter's hair. He feels the solid weight of his own axe as he chops wood for the winter fire, the pride of being a free man, the master of his own destiny. These memories are both a sanctuary and a torture. They are the only part of him the Romans could not take, a small, fiercely guarded flame of who he used to be. But they also remind him, with agonizing clarity, of everything he has lost. He is no longer a husband, a father, a man. He is a tool, and tools do not have memories. They only have functions. For Lyvius, this day ends as it began, in darkness and servitude, a single forgotten life among millions. He will eventually die in this villa, his body unceremoniously discarded, his name forgotten, his story erased. He is one of the millions whose names are not carved on triumphant arches, whose faces are not minted on coins. He is the invisible man whose sweat and tears were the mortar that held the Roman Empire together. The monuments we admire today, the aqueducts, the Colosseum, the grand columns depicting glorious victories, they were all built upon a foundation of immense human suffering. To truly understand the past, we must listen not only to the triumphant songs of emperors and generals, but also to the silent, desperate whispers of the invisible people who paid the price for that greatness. For theirs were the ancient lives that history chose to forget.